The night is still, too still. A chill wind whispers through the trees, carrying with it the scent of damp earth and something ancient. It's the kind of silence that presses in on you, heavy and expectant, like the world is holding its breath. Out here in the darkness, stories are born. Every culture, every corner of the world has them. Whispered tales told in hushed tones, passed down from generation to generation. Stories meant to chill the blood and quicken the pulse. They are warnings, wrapped in folklore and passed down through time. To ignore them is to invite the darkness in. These are not just stories, they are echoes of our deepest fears, reflections of the darkness that lurks at the edge of our vision. They speak to the primal instinct within us all, the one that senses when something is watching from the shadows, the one that knows with chilling certainty that we are not alone. This night we gather close and listen. We will journey across continents and cultures, exploring the chilling tales that have haunted humanity for centuries. We will delve into the heart of folklore where myth and reality intertwine. Prepare yourself, dear reader, for the journey ahead is not for the faint of heart. Fear. It's a universal language. It transcends borders and languages, uniting us in a shared shiver down the spine. Whether it's the rustling of leaves in the dead of night or the creak of a floorboard in an empty house, we all recognize its cold touch. It's a primal instinct, hardwired into our very being. Horror stories give shape to these fears. They take the shapeless dread that lurks in the shadows and give it a name, a face, a story. They are a way for us to confront our deepest anxieties, to explore the darkness without truly succumbing to it. In the telling and retelling of these tales, we find a strange comfort. We see ourselves in the victims, in their terror and their vulnerability, but we also find strength in their resilience and their will to survive. Horror, in its own twisted way, reminds us of what it means to be alive. It reminds us of the preciousness of life, the fragility of sanity, and the ever-present potential for darkness to encroach upon our world. Tonight, we will delve into the darkness together. We will explore the rich tapestry of horror that exists across the globe, from the chilling ghost stories of Japan to the haunting myths of Africa and beyond. But be warned, once you step into the shadows, there's no turning back. There's a thin veil between our world and the next. Sometimes it feels as if it's only a breath away, ready to be torn asunder. It's in those moments, when the line between reality and nightmare blurs, that the truly terrifying stories take root. These are the tales that linger long after the lights are out. They burrow into our minds, planting seeds of doubt and unease. The ones that make us question what is real and what is merely a trick of the mind. Are we truly alone in the darkness, or is there something else out there watching us with ancient, hungry eyes? The stories we are about to explore offer a glimpse beyond the veil. They invite us to confront the unknown, to grapple with the ancient fears that have haunted humanity since the dawn of time. They are a reminder that the world is a far stranger and more terrifying place than we often care to admit. So gather your courage, dear reader, and prepare to face the unknown, for the journey ahead will take us to the very edge of fear itself. Our journey begins tonight in the shadows of ancient forests and forgotten temples. We will travel across continents, each step taking us deeper into the heart of human fear. The stories we will encounter are not for the faint of heart. They are filled with whispers of dread, with glimpses of unimaginable horrors, and with the chilling realization that some things are best left undisturbed. But within these tales of terror, there is also a strange beauty, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, the human spirit can endure. These stories are a testament to our resilience, our capacity for both fear and hope, and our enduring fascination with the unknown. So let us turn the page now and begin our exploration of the world's most terrifying tales. Let us gather around the flickering firelight of storytelling and allow the shadows to reveal their secrets. But be warned, once you enter the world of these stories, you may never look at the darkness in quite the same way again. Our first tale takes us east, to the land of the rising sun, Japan, a country of ancient beauty where vibrant cities rise amid snow-capped mountains and cherry blossom trees paint the landscape in hues of pink and white. But beneath this surface of serenity lies a darker truth. Japan is a land steeped in folklore, where spirits and demons linger in the shadows and ancient grudges echo through time. It's a place where the veil between the living and the dead is thin, gossamer-like, easily torn. Here, amongst the bustling crowds and tranquil temples, the stories of the Yurei are whispered. The Yurei, vengeful spirits bound to the earthly realm by unfinished business or a deep-seated rage. They are not the stuff of fairy tales, but creatures of nightmare, their white burial kimonos flowing around them like shrouds, their long black hair cascading down their backs. They are said to appear at twilight, their faces hidden beneath white hoods, their eyes burning with an eerie, cold light. And they are drawn to the living like moths to a flame, their whispers echoing in the stillness of the night, promising sorrow, despair, and a fate worse than death.
Deep in the heart of Tokyo, hidden amongst the towering skyscrapers and neon lights, lies an ancient cemetery, a place of whispering shadows and crumbling headstones, where the air hangs heavy with the scent of incense and the weight of forgotten memories. It is here, in this forgotten corner of the city, that the story of Haruka begins. Haruka was a young woman, known for her beauty and her kind heart. She was loved by all who knew her laughter echoing through the narrow streets of her village. But fate, it seemed, had a cruel twist in store for her. One evening, as the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the land, Haruka vanished. She was never seen alive again. Some whispered that she had run away with a secret lover, others that she had been spirited away by the Yurei that haunted the nearby forest. But the truth, as it often does, was far more sinister. Haruka had been brutally murdered, her body left to rot in the wilderness, her spirit, unable to find peace, transformed into a Yurei, her heart filled with a burning desire for revenge.
Haruka's spirit, now a vengeful Yurei, haunted the cemetery where she was laid to rest. Those who dared to enter after nightfall spoke of a chilling presence, a cold wind that seemed to whisper their name, urging them closer to their doom. One by one, people began to disappear, their fates unknown. The villagers, living in fear of the vengeful spirit, sealed the cemetery gates, hoping to contain the evil that lurked within. But the Yurei's power was not so easily contained. Years turned into decades, and the story of Haruka, the vengeful Yurei, became the stuff of local legend. Parents would warn their children to stay away from the cemetery, lest they be taken by the spirit that wandered its paths. And then, one night, a group of teenagers, their hearts filled with bravado and fueled by sake, decided to test the legend. They broke into the cemetery, their laughter echoing in the stillness of the night, oblivious to the danger that awaited them. They were never seen alive again.
Kenji shivered, pulling his jacket tighter around himself. It was a cool spring evening, the air thick with the scent of cherry blossoms and something else, something he couldn't quite place. He glanced at his friends, their faces illuminated by the pale glow of their phones, their laughter echoing in the stillness of the night. They were on their way to the old cemetery, a dare that Kenji had been foolish enough to accept. He'd heard the stories, of course. Who hadn't? But he dismissed them as nothing more than folklore, stories meant to scare children. Now, as he felt a cold wind whip through the trees, he wasn't so sure. "Come on, slowpoke," his friend Hiro called back to him. "Or are you scared of a few ghosts?" Kenji tried to laugh, but the sound caught in his throat. He quickened his pace, his heart pounding in his chest. They reached the cemetery gates, rusted iron bars twisted and overgrown with ivy. The air here felt different, heavier, as if a weight had settled over them. Hiro pulled out a pair of wire cutters from his backpack, snipping through the chain that held the gates closed. "Let's see if the stories are true," he said with a grin, stepping through the opening. Kenji hesitated at the threshold, a shiver running down his spine. He could hear his friends laughing further into the cemetery. Taking a deep breath, he followed them. He saw a small handheld mirror lying on the ground. As he brought it closer, he saw a face reflected in its depths. It was the face of a young woman, her skin pale and cold. Then, the image in the mirror flickered and vanished. A cold hand closed around Kenji's shoulder, its grip like ice. He cried out, dropping the mirror. He whirled around, but there was no one there. At the edge of the trees stood a woman in a white burial kimono. Her eyes glowed with an eerie, cold light. He turned and ran, not daring to look back.
We leave Japan behind, journeying south to Africa, the cradle of humanity. A vast continent of deserts, rainforests, and savannas where the night sky shimmers with stars. Africa is a land of ancient magic, where tribal drums echo and stories are woven into existence beneath the Southern Cross. Spirits mingle with the living, tales of terror passed down. Amongst thorn bushes and baobab trees, the legend of the Tokoloshe takes root.
The village of Ndumo nestled at the edge of a vast, sun-baked plain, the land stretching out like a parched beast. The air shimmered with heat, and the silence was broken by the cry of a hawk. Here, in this remote corner, a young woman named Abeni was tormented by the whispers of the Tokoloshe. It began with nightmares, vivid dreams of a creature beneath her bed, its glowing red eyes boring into her soul. She would wake in a cold sweat, her heart pounding, feeling unseen eyes. Then came the whispers, soft voices calling her name. Abeni confided in the village elders, their faces etched with concern. The Tokoloshe was a harbinger of ill fortune.
The village shaman Mvubu was summoned. His eyes, cloudy with age yet sharp, pierced through Abeni. He listened as she recounted her nightmares and whispers. "The Tokoloshe has set its sights upon you, child," he said. Mvubu placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We will protect you." That night, the villagers gathered around a roaring fire. Mvubu began to chant, his face illuminated by the flames. He danced around the fire, his staff tracing ancient symbols.
Despite the shaman's assurances, my fear continued to grow. I lay awake, every creak sounding like the Tokoloshe drawing closer. One night, I awoke with a start. A cold sweat clung to my skin and my heart pounded. I sensed a dark presence lurking. Standing at the foot of my bed was the Tokoloshe. Its eyes, burning like hot coals, sent shivers down my spine.
When Abeni opened her eyes again, the Tokoloshe was gone. She lay in her bed, bathed in sweat, her breath coming in ragged gasps. Had it all been a dream? A figment of her fear-addled imagination? She desperately wanted to believe so, but a cold dread settled in the pit of her stomach, telling her otherwise. The next morning, Abeni awoke to find a sense of unease hanging over the village. The air, usually alive with the sounds of laughter and chatter, was thick with an oppressive silence. She stepped out of her hut, her eyes scanning the faces of those she passed, searching for answers. She found me sitting outside my hut, my face etched with a mixture of concern and grim determination. I looked up as she approached, my eyes holding hers with a steady gaze. "The Tokoloshe came for you last night, child," I said, my voice heavy with unspoken words. It left its mark upon this village. Abeni's blood ran cold as she followed my gaze to the ground outside her hut. There, etched into the hard-packed earth, was a trail of small, bloody footprints leading away from her doorway and disappearing into the tall grass beyond. The Tokoloshe had come for her, and while it had not taken her life, it had exacted a price paid in blood.
The villagers searched for the source of the blood, their hearts heavy with dread. Their search led them to the outskirts of the village, where they found a chilling sight. Lying in the dust was the village midwife, her eyes wide with terror. Her throat had been slashed, and her hand clutched a small, bloody doll. Mvubu examined the doll, his face etched with sadness and anger. "The Tokoloshe is a creature of vengeance," he said, his voice hoarse. It was summoned by someone filled with hatred. The villagers looked at each other, suspicion and fear clouding their eyes. Fear coiled around our hearts, its grip tightening with each passing day.
We leave behind the sun-drenched savannas of Africa, the chilling laughter of the Tokoloshe fading into the distance. Our journey now takes us north, to the rugged coastlines and mist-shrouded hills of Ireland, the Emerald Isle. Beneath Ireland's idyllic facade lies a darker history woven with sorrow, resilience, and ancient magic. Harbingers of death, the Banshee's mournful cries echo through the night. Our tale takes us to a small, isolated village on the western coast of Ireland.
The O'Malley family was once proud, their roots deep in their ancestral home. Time eroded their fortunes, leaving remnants of former glory. Sean O'Malley, hardened by loss, carried the family legacy. His wife Maeve had died, leaving him to raise Liam and Fiona alone. One stormy evening, Sean gathered his children by the fire. He revealed a family secret that would change their lives forever.
Fiona and Liam exchanged nervous glances, their eyes wide with anticipation. For generations, our family has been haunted by the Banshee, a harbinger of death. She appears when our time is near. Fiona had heard the stories, whispered by the village elders. Liam felt a cold dread creep into his heart. Her cry is a mournful wail that chills to the bone.
Legend has it that the Banshee's curse befell our family centuries ago, when our ancestor, a ruthless chieftain, betrayed a powerful fairy queen. In her rage, she cursed his bloodline, decreeing that no O'Malley would ever die a peaceful death, that the Banshee's wail would forever haunt their final moments.
Fiona, her heart pounding in her chest, couldn't help but feel a surge of defiance. Curses, fairies, banshees, they were nothing more than stories, figments of a bygone era. She refused to believe that her family was bound by such ancient superstitions. Liam, however, felt a chill run down his spine. He couldn't shake the feeling that his father was telling the truth, that the shadows of the past were closing in on them, their icy grip tightening with each passing moment.
There is a prophecy that speaks of a way to break the curse, to appease the fairy queen, and lift the shadow of the Banshee from our family forever.
Fiona scoffed, her skepticism evident in her voice.
Prophecy? You can't be serious, Da. These are just stories, nothing more.
Sean fixed his gaze on his daughter, his eyes filled with a mixture of sadness and resignation.
Whether you choose to believe it or not, Fiona, the prophecy is real, and I fear that the time to fulfill it is drawing near.
The days that followed were filled with a growing sense of unease. The storm that had raged the night of their father's revelations seemed to have seeped into their very bones, casting a pall over their once familiar surroundings. Fiona, determined to prove her father wrong, threw herself into her chores, her movements brisk and efficient, her laughter echoing a little too loudly in the stillness of their cottage. Liam, however, couldn't shake the feeling of impending doom that clung to him like a shroud. He spent his days wandering the wind-swept cliffs, his gaze lost on the turbulent sea, his mind racing with questions he couldn't answer. What did the prophecy entail? How could they possibly hope to appease a vengeful fairy queen after all these centuries? One evening, as the sun began its slow descent, casting long shadows across the land, Liam returned home to find his father bedridden, his face pale and drawn, his breathing shallow and labored. Fiona sat by his bedside, her eyes red-rimmed, her usual fire subdued by a deep and abiding fear.
Da, what is it? What's wrong?
Sean opened his eyes slowly, his gaze flickering between his two children, a faint smile touching his lips.
The Banshee came to me last night, Liam. I heard her cries echoing through the wind, felt her icy grip on my soul.
Fiona let out a sob, burying her face in her hands. Liam felt a cold dread grip his heart.
You're not going to die, Da. We need you.
Sean reached out a trembling hand, brushing Fiona's cheek.
Do not grieve for me, my child. Death comes for us all. It is but the next chapter in our journey.
We leave the wind-swept shores of Ireland, the mournful cries of the Banshee fading into the Celtic mist. Our journey takes us across the Atlantic to Latin America, where we encounter La Llorona, the Weeping Woman. Her legend echoes through the centuries, whispered from bustling cities to remote mountain villages. She wanders the waterways, searching for the souls she drowned, her cries a chilling reminder of love's devastating power. Our tale takes us to a small village where we meet Maria, a young woman whose life is about to intersect with La Llorona in the most tragic of ways.
Maria was known throughout the village for her beauty and her laughter. She met Rafael, a handsome charro, by the river. Their love was a whirlwind of stolen glances and whispered promises. Rafael filled her head with dreams of a life beyond the village, but their happiness was threatened by whispers about Rafael. One evening, Rafael bid farewell to Maria, his eyes filled with a strange, unsettling sadness.
Days turned into weeks, and Raphael's promises seemed fleeting. Maria often found herself drawn to the riverbank, her heart aching. One day she overheard women whispering about her. Poor Maria, one woman sighed, to be so young and so cruelly betrayed. Maria's breath caught in her throat. Betrayed? What had happened to Raphael? She crept closer, her heart heavy with dread.
"They say he's gone," a woman whispered, "gone back to the city. And he left her with more than just a broken heart," another added. "She carries his child." Maria's blood ran cold. It was true. She was with child. How could he have abandoned her? The truth crashed over her like a tidal wave. Driven by grief and anger, Maria fled into the night. She stumbled to the river's edge, the rushing water a deafening torrent. In her despair, Maria heard a mournful cry, filled with unbearable sorrow.
Maria saw her, standing at the water's edge, a woman in a long white gown. Her face, pale and gaunt, was etched with raw pain. Clutching at her skirts were two children, their faces contorted in silent agony. Terror pierced through Maria's grief. This was La Llorona. The woman took a step towards Maria, her cries echoing across the water. Maria stumbled back, her hand instinctively reaching out to protect her unborn child.
Legend has it that the weeping woman's cries are a warning, a reminder of love's devastating power. Maria, shattered by betrayal and her encounter with La Llorona, wandered the riverbank for days. Some say she found solace in the rushing waters, her cries joining those of the weeping woman. Others believe Maria found peace, her soul blessed with a life free from La Llorona's curse. But the legend of the weeping woman lives on, a chilling reminder that some wounds never heal.
Leaving behind La Llorona, our journey takes us to Australia, a land of ancient spirits and primal fears. Here, beneath a crimson sky, the stories of the Aboriginal people come alive. Tales of creation, spirits and monstrous creatures, of ancient magic and the balance between humanity and nature. Our tale unfolds in the shadow of Uluru, where the legend of the Yaramayahu takes hold. A small, grotesque figure resembling a humanoid frog with blood-red eyes and suction cups for fingers. Woe betide the traveler who strays too close, for the Yaramayahu craves the taste of human blood.
Jaru, a young Aboriginal man, listened intently to the stories of his elders. The Yaramayahu, Old Man Waru rasped, is a creature of darkness, born of the shadows. It lurks where sunlight fears to tread, waiting to ensnare those who stray from the campfire. The elders nodded in agreement, their eyes reflecting the firelight. Jaru shivered, feeling unseen eyes watching them. Waru warned, "Be wary, young Jaru, when you venture into the bush alone."
The next morning, Jaru set out from camp, his spear in hand. He moved cautiously through a dense grove of fig trees, the elder's warnings echoing in his mind. Suddenly he heard a soft, melodic voice calling his name. It couldn't be. His family was miles away, yet the voice sounded so real, so close. Jaru hesitated, drawn towards the sound. He knew the stories, but the primal longing for human connection drew him in.
Jaru moved cautiously towards the voice, his spear at the ready, and that's when he saw it. The Yara Ma Yahu perched on a branch, its eyes glowing red, its mouth twisted into a grotesque smile. Jaru recoiled in horror, dropping his spear. The Yara Ma Yahu leaped, its claws outstretched. Jaru threw himself to the side, narrowly avoiding the creature's grasp.
The Yaramayahu landed, preparing to spring again. Jaru scrambled back, searching for his spear. The creature lunged, its claws raking across Jaru's arm. Jaru kicked out, sending it sprawling. He turned to run, but the Yaramayahu was upon him. The last thing he remembered was the creature's chilling laughter, a harbinger of his terrible fate.
The elders searched for Jaru for days, their hearts heavy with dread, but they found no trace of him, only the lingering scent of blood and the unsettling silence of the fig grove, a silence broken only by the rustling of leaves and the whispers of the wind. Some say that Jaru was taken by the Yaramayahu to its lair, a hidden cave deep within the earth, where he was slowly drained of his life force, his body transformed into a grotesque mockery of its former self. Others believe that Jaru's spirit, forever bound to the creature that claimed him, now wanders the outback, a cautionary tale whispered on the wind, a reminder that some legends are best heeded, some creatures best left undisturbed, and some shadows hold a darkness that can never be outrun. Our journey through the heart of fear is far from over. The whispers of the Yaramayahu fade into the outback night as we prepare to confront the universal nature of horror, to face the darkness that resides within us all, and to seek solace in the shared stories that bind us together in the face of the unknown.
We have travelled far tonight across continents and cultures, venturing deep into the heart of fear itself. We have faced vengeful spirits and bloodthirsty creatures, heard the whispers of the dead and felt the chill of the unknown. From the eerie stillness of a Japanese cemetery to the sun-drenched plains of Africa, from the windswept cliffs of Ireland to the heart of the Australian outback, we have encountered the monsters that haunt our collective imagination. But these tales, as chilling as they are more than just stories. They are reflections of ourselves, echoes of our deepest fears and anxieties. The Yurei, driven by a thirst for vengeance, reminds us of the unresolved pain that can linger long after death. The Tokoloshe, lurking in the shadows, embodies the unseen forces that we fear can harm us. The Banshee, her cries a harbinger of doom, speaks to our primal fear of mortality. La Llorona, forever searching for the children she lost, reflects the devastating power of grief and regret. And the Yaramayahu, lurking in the Australian outback, embodies the fear of the unknown, the primal terror of being hunted by something we cannot understand. These stories, passed down through generations, serve as warnings, cautionary tales meant to teach us about the dangers that lurk in the shadows, both real and imagined. They remind us that the world can be a dark and unpredictable place, and that even in the safety of our homes, we are never truly alone. The bonfires glow. Comfort is found in these tales of terror. Confronting our fears in storytelling gives us control. We face darkness with a flickering candle of understanding. Sharing stories around a fire is deeply human. It connects us, sharing vulnerabilities and finding solace. It's not the monsters, but the darkness they represent. The darkness within us all, the potential for evil. Even in horror, the human spirit endures. Dancing with shadows. We carry stories with us, their lessons imprinted on our hearts. We learn to be wary of shadows, to listen for whispers, to trust our instincts. Fear, like fire, can be both destructive and life-giving. It can paralyze us or ignite a spark of courage. Horror allows us to dance with shadows, confront our deepest fears. It celebrates the resilience of the human spirit, our capacity for love and hope. Section 4. Why we tell ghost stories. Why do we tell these stories? Why do we subject ourselves to the chills, the shivers, the lingering unease that lingers long after the tale is told? Perhaps it is because in the face of the unknown we find a strange sense of comfort in shared fear. We are reminded that we are not alone in our anxieties, that our nightmares are mirrored in the folklore and legends passed down through generations. By confronting these fears, even vicariously through storytelling, we gain a sense of control over them. We learn to recognize the shadows for what they are, not invincible monsters, but simply manifestations of our own deepest fears waiting to be faced, understood, and ultimately overcome. The stories we tell, the myths we create, they are more than just entertainment. They are a testament to the enduring power of the human imagination, our ability to find meaning and purpose even in the darkest of times. They are a reflection of our shared humanity, a reminder that no matter how different our cultures or beliefs may seem, we are all united by the same primal fears, the same hopes and the same enduring need to make sense of the world around us. Section 5. Until the next nightfall. So, the next time you find yourself alone in the dark, listening to the wind howl outside your window, remember this: you are not alone. The stories are out there, waiting to be told, to remind you that even in the darkest of times, the human spirit can endure. They are a testament to our resilience, our capacity for both fear and hope, and our enduring fascination with the unknown. They are a reminder that the world is a far stranger and more terrifying place than we often care to admit. Until the next nightfall, when the shadows lengthen and the embers glow once more, keep the stories close. Share them with those you trust. Whisper them in hushed tones, and remember the lessons they hold. For in the end, it is the stories that bind us together, that remind us of who we are, and what it means to be human in a world where darkness always threatens to consume the light.